I got into dental school in Mumbai. I practiced dentistry there for about 6 years. Everything that I had to learn had to come from me making a very conscious choice. We are seeing this every day. We're living this every day with our patients. We had the power to get somebody out of pain. That's what people are looking for.
Good day, everyone. This is Dr. David Phelps of the Freedom Founders Mastermind Community and the Dentist Freedom Blueprint Podcast. Today, we're going to talk about the story of one of our industry leaders who is doing so much in her practice, I think also for our industry in dentistry, and is really a leader who continues to lead her team and a mission for her life and her practice. There's so many things in this story today. I got to get right to it. So with me, I'm so privileged to have Dr. Meghna Dasani. Meghna, how are you doing?
I am good. Thank you so much for having me today.
Such a pleasure. Well, one of the things that incited us having this conversation today is that you published a recent book. Now, you've already been a book publisher in the past. I know you've got several other books that have already been done, but the most recent one that just came out this last month is Airway is Life, Waking Up to Your Family's Sleep Crisis. Um, it's such a great book, and we'll talk about that book and why you wrote it. And who it's written for in a few minutes, but I just want to say that was the catalyst. And so well done on your book.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So we got to go back in time and kind of figure out how you got to where you are today, which today, just so people know, we'll skip ahead. You're in Houston, Texas, and Dasani Dentistry. Is that the name of the practice?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
Dasani Dentistry. But you didn't start in Houston. You started, in fact, on another continent. You want to take us back a while and where you and give us kind of your connection. What got you connected to dentistry in the first place?
Oh gosh, we're going to go that back.
Yeah, come on, let's do it.
Let's do it. Why not? So I jokingly like to tell people I became a dentist when I was 8 years old. Growing up in Mumbai, that's where I grew up. I was born and raised in Mumbai, India. We lived on the fourth floor of an apartment building. My dad still owns the building. But we had a dentist that practiced on the first floor. And all those years ago, there was no air conditioning. It wasn't a given. And Indian summers, are 110 degrees. And I would find myself gravitating to the dental practice downstairs just so I could hang out in the AC when it was hot in the afternoon. And this one day I skipped downstairs, just doing what I did every afternoon during summer break. And the dentist that practiced was like, "Do you want to pull a tooth today?" And I was like, "Wait, what?" I'm 8 years old. And I turned, and our neighbor who lived on the third floor was in the chair. Now she had a tooth that was loose, like
Right.
honestly, it was like one periodontal ligament loose, right? That's all that it was hanging on by. But she was scared. And he, asked her if it was okay if he let me pull the tooth. Of course, I was over the moon. He numbed her up. I got to hold the forceps, him holding my hand, and out came that tooth, and I was hooked. So just the fact that I got to do something so cool, but also at some point, the realization that we had it within our hands, the power to get somebody out of pain, the discomfort was, I think, what kind of set that path for me as to this is what I want to do. And then, of course, fast forward.
Wait, yeah, but one second. I gotta go back. So this the lady whose tooth you pulled lived on the third floor. So obviously that wasn't your last engagement with her. So I gotta know, was there some connection, more of a connection with her? I mean, was she grateful? Or how did you feel that you actually did help her because she needed this tooth out? What's the rest of that story?
Um, Honestly, so she's one that, knew me, held me since I was born. It's fed me, was my second mother, for lack of a better word. And it almost felt like, well, obviously I got to help her. She was grateful because she's now out of pain.
Yes.
And I say this in air quotes, didn't hurt her. And I guess it was just things coming full circle to where somebody she's literally raised all 8 years of my life was able to help her. So it just how things fell into place and connected, I guess, made that connection for me as to this is what I want to do. This is how I want to help people.
So I just got to think, as you said, 8 years old, and you've been now empowered as an 8-year-old who has done something that you wouldn't think that anybody less than an adult the dentist who was there was an adult, not not in his teens, is adult, and you got to step in and you were empowered. So I just got to think, as a young person, those experiences we all have in our life, something that influenced us, inspired us to take a certain path. It's always interesting to go back and see what was that. And that's a great story. So thanks for letting me just hang on that for a minute, because I thought that was great. And I did not know that about you till we talked today. So, all right. All right. Now I'll let you skip ahead. Okay.
So I did what I needed to do, got into dental school in Mumbai, graduated, and I actually had a startup there. I practiced dentistry there for about 6 years. It was a general bread and butter practice, did everything that a general dentist would do, perfectly happy there until a boy happened. My husband.
What happened?
A
A
boy.
boy. Oh my gosh. Here's another detour in the well-laid path of Megna, right? Okay, detour coming up. All right, stay tuned.
Always. So that's when I met my husband, and he was actually in Pittsburgh. He studied at Ohio State and was working in Pittsburgh, and we connected. And so that led to me having to shut down that practice and move here to the United States to be able, when we got married. Um, at the time that we got married, he ended up being transferred to Houston. So I have always lived in Houston, except for the 2 years that I went to dental school. And that is, moving to Houston is what literally, now that I look back, and we've been talking about this earlier, is what set the trajectory for what was going to happen. Now that I look back, um, as a foreign trained dentist, I had to go back to dental school for what they call the advanced standing program, which was, I was able to do it in 2 years, but we had to give our national boards prior to being accepted to dental school. So here I was studying for, to be able to get into school. And I distinctly remember this. Now, we've been married 20 years now. So once upon a time, when we didn't have WhatsApp or FaceTime or text messaging the way we do now, phone calls home were on set days and at set times. And you remember this, if the phone rang when it wasn't supposed to, when you lived away from home, it typically meant it was either amazingly good news or news that you did not want to hear. And that was what happened. One morning, 5 a.m., my husband had just left for work and the phone rang, and it was my mother telling me we needed to head back home. And we find out that we had lost my father-in-law. He was in his early 50s. So not old by any stretch of the imagination, relatively healthy, didn't take any medications. He wasn't overweight, walked 3 kilometers every day, did everything right. And, we got on the flight, we're headed home. And I remember this. I was a hot mess. I was in tears, crying, upset. Of course, I'd lost a father, right? And my husband was just this, he was just sitting next to me on that flight, as strong as he could be. And I turned to him and I said, you got to show some emotion. This is not healthy. You got to let it out. And he turned towards me and he shrugged his shoulders and he said, all the men in my family have died at 54.
Wow.
Well, it turns out his grandfather had died at that age. He'd had an uncle that had passed at that age, and now my father-in-law. And the story that they'd been handed all these years was, it's genetic. You can't do anything about it. And I guess they accepted that. And when he told me, and I didn't argue with him then, I mean,
Sure.
we were in no frame of mind to even go any further. And I said, okay, we'll figure this out. Let's get home. We'll figure this out.
Because you want to figure this out for your husband's benefit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So we got home, and in the Indian culture, our mourning rituals are 13 days long. So while the rest of the family did what they needed to do, I gathered up all of his records and I went from doctor to doctor, every doctor that he had visited. And what are we missing? What did we miss here? What could we have done so that this never happens again? And consistently, the answer that came back was sleep apnea. Now, I don't know now if he had a CPAP or that he'd been offered it. I know for sure appliance therapy was not an option back home at that point. I just didn't know. And I'm the first to admit I was selfish. I did not want my family to have to go through this again. And I made my husband that promise. I made myself that promise. We're going to figure this out. In this day and age, and this was 20 years ago, this day and age, there's no reason for this to have happened with all the advances that we have in medicine. So everything that I did from that point onwards was with that goal in mind. We got to figure this out. If we can avoid this, we want to make sure we're doing everything we can. And that's what led me down that rabbit hole of treating sleep apnea.
So Meghna, you were how many years into your practice in Houston when this unfortunate event occurred with your father-in-law? How many years had you been?
I was headed to dental school.
Oh, that's what you were heading to dental school. You weren't even in practice yet.
Correct.
So what was your awareness at that point in, you'd already been trained as a dentist, practiced as a dentist, now going back to school for the advanced training in Boston. What was your understanding of, or your awareness of sleep apnea? How much did you have at that point?
Nothing. I'll
Nothing.
be honest with you. I didn't know anything. I knew the term, I knew what it meant, and that's pretty much it. And I didn't have much of an education on any treatment, understanding, anything. Not back home, not even when I went to BU.
Mm-hmm.
So everything that I had to learn had to come from me making a very conscious choice to finding, researching, and exploring what it is that I needed to do next.
So kind of the point here, which I think everybody can certainly feel from your reliving this tragic story, is what taking this event and ensuring to the best of your ability, number one, for your husband's protection, but then beyond that, you're now, as a dentist, going to be in a position, as we know, front of the line to help diagnose and again expand the awareness to more awareness and treatment, potential treatment opportunities to more people. So this became a real mission, a real cause for you. And so while you were in school, I'm sure you kept digging in and kept researching. And then you graduated from school, and then you went to Houston, where you opened your practice. And so when you opened your practice, was it a scratch startup, or did you acquire a practice, or what? How did you start that?
So when I moved back to Houston, I was an associate for a few years. Again, kept pursuing what I needed to do, how I needed to do. And in 2010, I purchased my practice from a dentist that was retiring. And again, it's the same thing, the rabbit holes that you go down, because yes, I wanted to do this to help my family, but the number of patients, once you start to have these conversations, your team members, their families, and even though I say I wanted this for my family, well, they all become our family, do they not? Our team, our patients, everything we do expands into helping all of them.
So in this case, I'm kind of taking a broader look for those of our colleagues that are listening to us discuss this today. And, there's a lot, unfortunately, and this is in all industries, Meghna, it's not just dentistry, but there's a point where people seem to get to a burnout stage, because whatever we're trained to do, whatever we go to do, the career, the profession, it can become routine if we are not challenged for some reason, whether it's internal or an external event like you had, or both, to grow. And oftentimes, unfortunately, people will feel like they hit the pinnacle of their education by getting whatever degree, advanced degrees, GPR, licensure, credentialed, whatever that may be. And that kind of becomes, I'm done. And now I get to go, live my life and
cruise control.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. And yet that just, for anybody, I don't care what, it gets to be routine and kind of old. And so my point is you had a great reason to do what you did. And I know you do a lot of other things in dentistry. So this isn't just your one area of subspecialization. But what I'm saying is don't you, and you help a lot of our colleagues also look at the opportunities they have with sleep. So you're helping. But doesn't this reinvigorate, if there's someone who's a little bit like, I'm just kind of getting burned out on dentistry, invigorates not only themselves, but also, as you said, your team members, because it's so relevant. And now you've just created I would think, a culture that's very mission based now. Yes, you can still do lots of routine dentistry, which we all would do, but you've got a cause, a mission that's greater than filling teeth, for example, right?
Absolutely. No, I agree. And I 100% agree with what you said about the team too. With my team, it's almost like this is their legacy too, as to how and what they can do to impact the patients, the education, helping them, because these are these are amazing days when you get to go to the office and actually get to hear the stories of somebody that's gotten the best sleep they ever had, a wife that is able to sleep because she's no longer worried her husband's going to stop breathing, or moms that finally know they have the answers as to why whatever's happening with their kid is happening.
Yeah.
It's these things that, and I'm fond of telling my team this. It's like, okay, I'm done. Can I go for the day? Because it can't get any better than this when you hear these stories. So, absolutely, I agree with you. These are legacies that my team gets to create for themselves.
A lot of what we hear about our profession today is that it's being commoditized. Insurance dictates what patients will treatment they'll accept, or corporate is taking over and they're on every corner and blah blah blah. But when you're mission based, and particularly when you and your team get to actually feel the emotions that of the patients, the parents, that family members that are their lives are saved, enhanced in so many ways. That's what resonates. I mean, that's what, to me, see, that's what keeps us going. It's a transformation in other people's lives. And some people would say, well, yeah, routine dentistry, oh yeah, we help people, but it doesn't seem like they don't want to come see us. And we're trying to be preventive, but when you're doing this kind of work, then those stories resonate so well. And I know that we talk about marketing, uh, to decommoditize what we do today. Well, there's the stories that decommoditize and enhance, and that connection, again, the emotional connection, even if someone doesn't have an airway issue, just to know that you have a team, a culture that's based on, wow, we change lives. Well, I don't have an airway problem, but gosh, what if they could change my life in some other way with some other dental situation I've got, right? It just piggybacks on each other, right?
It does. And I think it brings in the human element of that we are human and we understand what they're going through as well, because they see that we are seeing this every day. We're living this every day with our patients, and the empathy. That's what people are looking for. Like you said, everything's become so mainstream, for lack of a better word. It has to fit into a certain frame. And this almost lets us color outside the lines to be human in our interactions with patients, because people want to be seen, people
Yes.
want to be heard.
Yes.
And I find it definitely changes things for them.
And with your team being excited because of, again, the connection and the changing of lives that they get to experience firsthand, that's got to make a big difference for you, as the owner, in having a team that you don't have to so much, quote, manage. Because I think if we took a general survey of our industry, the thing that most of our dental colleagues as owners dislike the most is well, I have to manage the staff. Well, we know, and that leadership and developing a culture is both an art and a skill that can be learned, that we don't typically learn in school, and it's a progression that we never end. We're always trying, if we want to grow, we're always working on that part of our world, is the people that we serve and how we communicate and how we we're not motivating them, because I don't think you can motivate people, but we're creating an environment that is self-motivating. And so, speak to that about your team. How difficult is that for you in line with everything else that you deal with in your busy life? Is that a regular situation you've got to deal with, or is it rare and few and far between for you?
Currently, now it is, my team manages me, let's put it that way.
Mhm.
It didn't always used to be that way. I have made every mistake there is in running a business, managing a team, being a leader. I have been, most of us type of personalities are that, right? Micromanagers. Nobody can do it as well as I can do it. And the day that flipped for me was super cliched, but it is the absolute truth. When I had the courage to take one big step back and look at myself, look at the mirror, what is it that I am lacking? And the minute I understood that, um, things started to change. With my team, I think it's super obvious how much my team dotes on me and how proud I am of them. They truly are an extension of my family. They are my home away from home, because this our family's back home, and it comes down to, I've come to realize it comes down to actually trusting people to do their job that you hire them to do. If if I hire my, I don't know, assistant to do what she needs to do, I cannot micromanage her. Being respectful is one of the most common things people forget to do with their teams. We are so we look forward to finding faults in our team members. Pointing fingers is so much easier that we forget to give them the benefit of doubt. We forget to allow them to make mistakes. The day we give our team permission to make mistakes is the day things flip, because now they know they don't have to live in fear of Doc finding out, Doc getting upset. And all I ask of them is, as long as you're learning from this and it doesn't happen again or doesn't happen too often, we're good. We joke about it. It's like, are we paying for CE this week when there's a mistake? It's
Right.
a learning opportunity.
Exactly.
It is a learning opportunity. So they know. I'll have a team member come and say, like, Doc, you just paid for CE. I was like, how much did it cost me? Let's go. But at least they know that creating a safe place is all I say. We do that for our children at home. Well, they're my kids at the office.
Yes.
Let's give them that space to grow. Because if they're taken care of, guess who's taken care of?
That's right.
My patients.
That's right.
That's all we all want.
Yes. Yeah. No, that's so powerful. I was thinking as you were talking about your staff member coming to you and saying, "Hey, we just did CE this week. You just paid for CE. Could you actually formalize it on a board and actually call it what it is and check the box and everybody has a certificate? I mean, you can have extra fun with it. But I love that. That's the absolute such a great attitude, and it is hard for us who have been trained to be as near perfectionists as possible, which is impossible, but that's how we're trained to control it all. Nobody can do it better than we can. And then the stress and strains of dentistry, which is physically and mentally exhausting, can be, and it's a lot to overcome. But I think your statement about stepping back, that's very powerful in itself. Stepping back, looking at yourself and saying, what can I change about my demeanor, about my behavior, about my actions, my communication, that could empower and allow these people around me, my team, to feel safe. Because you're right. In the environment where we feel afraid or fearful, we're not empowered to do anything. I mean, we're just tell me what to do. Give me the checklist, and I'll just do that. And that's all I'm going to do, because I'm afraid if I do anything more than that, I'm going to be held accountable for something that, and I don't want that. I don't want that.
Right.
Right?
I hear docs say, I want my team to take ownership. Let's give them the tools.
Yes.
Let's allow them to actually take ownership.
Yes. All right. Last thing I want to ask you is writing, publishing a book. Again, this is not your first one. You've done several, but obviously you did it because you want to communicate a message. And you decided to write, in this case, not for your colleagues, which you could do that because you teach courses on Airway to dentists, but you want to write this for your patients. So you decided to make a turn when you were in the middle of writing the book at some point and say, let me focus on my patients, the consumers. So I understand why you did it, but what else did you gain out of writing the book? What else did it do for you or your team, or what are the adjunct benefits that you found in doing this?
So, you're right. I did start off this book with wanting to write it for the dentists, the dental community. And at one point I was like, no, allowing myself, giving myself permission to change direction as to what I wanted to do and where I wanted to go actually had such, and I'm a person that just, if I've decided something, I will make it happen no matter what. So just giving myself permission to do that. It's okay if you started this, but having realized that I'm doing my actual mission was to educate others was huge for me. By way of what did I learn and how did it impact me, my family, and my team? Honestly, and I was talking to a very dear friend of mine probably last week, it's brought me to my knees. It has humbled me in ways that I have not known. Yes, the sheer amount of hard work, but we're all used to, putting in the hours and the research. And there's always so much to learn, even as I was, pulling articles and papers. And there's stuff like I was like, oh, this is new. So that was good. But just realizing how much support I had from people I did not even know. I didn't think they knew I existed. Let's put it that way. And it's been humbling to see how our community has actually come to support me. It has been huge. My team, of course, is super proud. Like they're mama ducks, mama hens. They're just strutting around. But Doc wrote a book and it's an Amazon bestseller. But it's been a journey for sure, and lots of lessons learned on humility. It's been a journey for sure.
Well, that's really fantastic. I really appreciate you sharing today. From your heart. Your story, your evolution from an 8-year-old now to a mother, a wife, a community leader, obviously an outstanding influencer in our profession. The book is Airway is Life. This is Dr. Meghna Dasani. And Meghna, for our colleagues who would like to, connect with you, obviously they can find the book on Amazon, but they might want to even go further and with connection. What's the best way for those to reach out to you?
Through the website, meghnadasani.com, we have a contact us form. I am always on Facebook, so feel free to reach out on social media as well. But yep, email through the website is the best way to make sure it gets answered.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Meghna. Loved having you today.
Thank you for having me.